Hello, and welcome to the Gifted Application and Identification Process Workshop for parents of 1st and 5th graders. My name is Gina Byrne. I'm the Gifted Resource Teacher at Ocean Lakes Elementary School, and I will be guiding you through this presentation. The goals for this particular presentation is to have you understand the process of the screening and application and identification for gifted services in the city of Virginia Beach, as well as to help you understand the value of the input that you as a parent have when it comes to the application and identification processes. We will go through each step, beginning with the screening, and then following up with the application, then testing, eligibility, and finally notification and placement. Step 1, screening. All 1st and 5th grade students in the City of Virginia Beach Public Schools are screened in the fall using the Naglieri Nonverbal Ability Test. Screening is completed by an assessment specialist from the Gifted Testing Office. The testing specialist comes to the school. They go into the student's classroom. The teacher is not in the classroom, and the testing specialist administer the test to all the students in the classroom. The Naglieri Nonverbal Test is a fair and equitable assessment tool to use because it uses geometry and patterns. So a square is a square in every language and every culture. It doesn't matter what their ethnic background is or gender or anything like that. So they use the Naglieri in order to make it equitable for all. Once the screening results are posted and sent out to schools and available for parents on Parent Portal, any student who scores in the 90th percentile or above will be referred to be considered for gifted eligibility. And what happens is that as a parent, you have to initiate the application by going onto the giftedapplication.vbcps.com website using your student's username or user ID number, which is their lunch number, and the password that they use to log into the computers at school. Once you are in the program, then you will complete the application and submit the application in order for your child to be tested. Now, if your child does not score in the 90th percentile or above, you may still initiate the testing process by completing and submitting an application. It is important to note that students who are not referred based on screening results may be referred at a later date. Meaning that just because they didn't score 90th percentile or above doesn't mean that they can't be referred for testing, or you can't initiate testing at any time later on in the future. So what you see on this is a paper copy of what the application looks like. There are 4 sections, and in each section you rate your student based on the indicators of gifted characteristics. And you rate them as almost always, often, occasionally, rarely, or never. You go through and look at what the indicator is, think about what your child is showing you at home, and then assess that accordingly. And these are the other 2 sections of the checklist as well. For the last part of the application, there is the comment section. Now, the comment section is extremely important. This is your opportunity to tell what your child is like outside of school. You are the best advocate for your child, and you know your child best. So here's where you can put in the examples of how your child is showing certain characteristics, or things that your child is interested in doing, or examples of ways that your child is showing maybe an advanced vocabulary, or that they're a very intense learner, or that they love to explore things and learn about new things, and they're constantly watching the Discovery Channel, or they just can't get enough of reading about the solar system or things like that. The more information and the more examples that you can give the committee, the better it is, because we want to be able to have a true picture of what your child is like outside of the school. And as a parent, you want to make sure that you're providing enough information to give the committee a really good picture of your student, and a really good idea of what he or she is as a learner. Over the next few slides, we're going to go through a little bit of what each of those sections on the checklist are asking you for. So, in what ways does your child demonstrate intense learning? Are they using advanced vocabulary? And by advanced vocabulary, we're talking about things that most children their age would not use. More like adult-like vocabulary than age-specific vocabulary. They become totally absorbed in projects. It doesn't matter what's going on around them. Their focus is so intense on what they're doing that they cannot be distracted. They read at advanced levels. They love to read. They can't get enough of the books that they're reading. They demonstrate concern for real-world issues. They're things that happen that they may see on the news, or things that are happening in school that may be affecting them, and they have a really strong sense of fairness and justice. They also possess a very large amount of factual knowledge. They're little walking encyclopedias. They can tell you a plethora of information about what their topics of interest are. In what ways does your child demonstrate analytical thinking? They love solving problems. They make connections very easily. They're able to connect information that they've learned in the past to new information and bridge that gap between the two. They understand complex ideas, and they learn new skills quickly. They do not need the repetition of a few 3, 4, 5 times to get it. They get it the first time. And they like to share their unique perspectives. They like to tell you what they're thinking and why they're thinking it, and also explain their perspective and what their opinions are, and talk about them, and really sometimes even debate with you about what their expression or what their opinions and perspectives are. In what ways does your child demonstrate creative and productive thinking? They ask lots and lots of how and why questions. They want to know, how does this work? Why is this happening? And they are very, very curious. They adapt easily to new situations. They offer a unique response in products or ideas. Their thinking is different from what most people would think of to come up with that idea or come up with the product for whatever it is that they're trying to explain to or show their learning. It's just a way of expressing themselves in a different manner. And they see humor in situations that others may not. They understand sarcasm. They understand wordplay. Puns are easy for them to understand. They also can, sometimes make up their own jokes, which may or may not be funny, but to them, that shows that they have a sense of humor. In what ways does your child demonstrate a high level of motivation? They work well independently. They are able to participate in group activities or as a team member. They assume leadership roles. So if your child is active in extracurricular activities and they're the team captain, or they are in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or they are in a church youth group and they like to be the leader in those things, those would be great examples to put in the comments. And they tend to do more than what is expected. The expectation is to answer the questions, but they want to provide more information and they want to go above and beyond. So when you're writing your comments, you want to ask yourself, how is it that the committee is able to see and visualize what my child is like outside of the school setting? And also think about these 3 questions. Are you providing an accurate picture? Have you provided specific examples? And have you honestly portrayed your child's strengths and needs? So once the application is submitted and the deadline to submit has occurred, testing is the next step. We use the COGAT, which assesses verbal, nonverbal, and reasoning. When testing occurs, the parents or guardians are notified by the gifted resource teacher. Your student comes to school like a regular school day. The assessment specialist from the gifted testing office comes to the school and will take your children or your child to a specific area that's been designated for them to test. They will administer the test, and then they will also look through your child's cumulative record. They will look for maybe other ability test scores that are in there, the report cards, and if they are in the upper grades, 3, 4, and 5. SOL scores. Best preparation for testing is just like a regular school day, good night's sleep and a good nutritious breakfast. So after your child is tested, what happens? The Gifted Identification and Placement Committee will meet, and they are comprised of gifted resource teachers, the testing assessment specialists, administrators from throughout the division, gifted coordinators, and school psychologists. The committee reads through the entire profile of your child. They look at the test scores, they look at the comments in the checklist that you as the parent filled out, they look at the comments in the checklist that the teacher filled out, and any other additional comments that could be on that application. They look at their report cards, they look at if there was any additional testing done, and they come to a consensus as to whether or not the student is considered gifted or not. And because there's so much data to look at, we use a portfolio approach in the city of Virginia Beach, which means that not one piece of data can prevent your child from being identified, but also not one piece of data will identify your child. So that's why your input is so vital. This is the federal definition of gifted and talented, and basically what it's saying is that gifted and talented students are children who need a differentiated type of curriculum in order to reach their full potential. Last but not least, the final step in identification process is the notification and the placement. Parents are notified by email, so it's important that your email is correct, and also that you actually are able to get email. If so, you need to have an email account. The other thing is that if you are notified by email, you are given either a yes, they are identified, or a no, they are not identified. If the decision is yes, and you also applied to Old Donation School, then there will also be an email letting you know whether your child was accepted into the program. If your child was identified and not accepted at Old Donation School, then they will be placed in what we call a gifted cluster in their home school, which is wherever you're zoned for. Every elementary school and middle school and high school in the city of Virginia Beach has a gifted resource teacher, and every elementary, middle, and high school follows the resource cluster model. What this means is that within the school there are certain classes where there are identified gifted students. The teacher works collaboratively with the gifted resource teacher to plan and implement lessons, both together or separately with the students. First graders may also be placed on hold. What this means is that the committee saw something and they just want to have more information on this child before making a concrete decision. So the students are placed in a holding status. They are put into a gifted cluster classroom where they are able to complete the high rigorous activities and assignments and things like that the gifted resource teacher and the cluster teacher are providing for them, and tested again at the end of second grade. Should you have any questions on your test scores of your student, please call the Gifted Testing Office at 757-263-6870. That's 757-263-6870. If you have any questions on the process that was described in this presentation, please give me a call at 757-648-3200, and my extension is 52548. Or you can email me at Catherine, CATHERINE, .Byrne, BYRNE, at VBschools.com. Thank you so much for watching this presentation.